You were not born apathetic. You were optimized into it. The human brain can only absorb so much unreciprocated signal before it stops transmitting entirely. You did not become cold. Your nervous system completed a cost-benefit analysis and voted to survive. Most people will tell you that losing empathy is a moral failure. That is because most people have never paid the emotional tax you paid. Not for a day, not for a year, but for a decade or more. They have never sat in a room vibrating with someone else's chaos while their own heart rate climbed into territory that felt like panic, only to be told they were too sensitive, for noticing what everyone else pretended not to see. They do not understand that your so-called numbness is actually the most sophisticated emotional regulation your biology could engineer under impossible conditions. The empath to Apath pipeline is not a breakdown. It is a neurobiological upgrade that activates when caring becomes mathematically irrational. It happens in stages. Each stage has a mechanism, and the first mechanism begins in the part of your brain that once mirrored other people's pain without consent. When you watch someone cry, your mirror neurons fire as if you are crying too. This is not metaphor. It is measurable neural activity in your premotor cortex and anterior insula. In a healthy attachment system, this mirroring creates reciprocity. One person feels, the other responds, and the loop closes with relief. But in the empath to Apath pipeline, the brain encounters a repeated prediction error. You feel someone's distress. You act on it. You absorb it. And the outcome is either exploitation, indifference, or punishment. The other person does not heal. They simply learn that your nervous system is available for lease at no cost. Over time, your brain does what all Bayesian prediction systems do. It updates its priors. It begins to classify emotional resonance as a low-reward, high-cost event. The anterior insula downregulates its response amplitude. Your mirror neurons do not break. They learn. They learn that feeling someone else's pain never prevented your own. This is not depression. This is supervised learning conducted by your own nervous system with pain as the only instructor. And once this learning is stored, the second mechanism begins, not in the mind, but in the body. Empathy is metabolically expensive. It requires glucose, cortisol regulation, sustained autonomic engagement, and inflammatory monitoring. When you spend years absorbing emotional states that no one else in the room will acknowledge, let alone regulate, your body begins to treat empathy as a resource drain masquerading as virtue. This is not theory. Chronic empathic engagement without reciprocity elevates inflammatory cytokines and dysregulates the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. Your vagus nerve starts sending different signals. Your gut microbiome shifts under chronic stress. Your body starts to rebel against your generosity with physical symptoms that no amount of rest will resolve. You notice it first as fatigue that sleep cannot fix, then as aversion that masquerades as irritability, then as a flatness you cannot name because it does not feel like sadness. It feels like nothing. You did not stop caring because you are broken. Your body stopped subsidizing relationships that never paid dividends. Therapists know this. They just cannot say it out loud. The body always keeps the score, and when the debt is too high, it closes the account without asking permission. But the body is not the only thing that changes. Once your physiology has voted, your sense of self begins to rewrite itself. That is mechanism 3, and it is the one that makes this pipeline so difficult to reverse. Human identity is not fixed. It is a narrative maintained by the hippocampus and medial prefrontal cortex, updated constantly by lived experience through a process called memory reconsolidation. When empathy consistently leads to loss, abandonment, or exploitation, your self-concept undergoes a schema shift that feels like waking up. You stop thinking of yourself as someone who feels too much. You start thinking of yourself as someone who sees clearly. This edit is subtle and profound. The moment you renamed your withdrawal as wisdom, your hippocampus stored a new identity template. You're no longer the person who sacrifices peace for connection. You are the person who chooses silence over static. You are no longer the one who stays. You are the one who understands that staying is sometimes a form of self-deletion. This is not denial. This is structural change. The brain has rewritten its autobiography, and the new protagonist does not flinch. But there is a final threshold, a point where apathy stops being a symptom and becomes a permanent feature. Most people miss it because it does not announce itself. It arrives quietly, dressed as relief. The final mechanism is myelination. Every time you choose emotional disengagement and experience the absence of pain, your brain reinforces that neural pathway through oligodendrocyte activity that wraps the axon in insulating protein. The route from social trigger to effective numbness becomes faster, smoother, more automatic. Like learning to ride a bicycle, you cannot unlearn it through willpower or therapy alone. The brain has mapped apathy as survival positive, and it will protect that map with the same ferocity it protects any survival skill. This is the part where most people tell you to forgive. I am not going to do that. Forgiveness is a luxury for people who were not mined for empathy until their nervous system reorganized itself around the absence of feeling. If you are waiting to feel the way you used to feel, you are waiting for a version of yourself that no longer exists. You are not empty. You are efficient. Your brain did what brains do. It adapted to the data it was given, and the data was unmistakable. If this makes you defensive, pay closer attention. If this frequency reached you, stay tuned in. The next transmission explores why ghosting is not abandonment. It is mercy disguised as absence. And if you have ever disappeared from someone without explanation, you already know more about this than you think.